Hi. You're muted.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good afternoon. I don't know your time.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Does everyone have access to, well, I'm going to send everything up in the chat now. Here's the proposal so far. Here is notes. And yeah, I think that's all for now. Thanks everyone for joining today. It's exciting because we have some direction, and we have there's been a lot of comments and things added to the proposal, so it would be great to go today through it together. This meeting is also under the code of conduct of the CNCF applies, which, as Leo likes to say, can be summarized to everyone be nice. And yes, please add yourselves to the attendees list. And would anyone like to take notes of the discussion?
Sure, I can do that, Nikki.
Thank you. I don't think we have anyone who has not been to a meeting before. Everyone seems like familiar faces, right? So we can just start. Does it make sense to take notes while we're going to be going through the document itself and changing things? So maybe we can focus on that instead of taking notes. What do you think?
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Maybe we could have like just a summary of what we have discussed, and then kind of summarize what we have edited and had focus on to change in terms of changing the document. So
sounds good. And if anything's not in the doc, we can add it to the notes.
Yeah.
I'll share my screen then. Everyone can see my screen?
Yep.
Great. Okay. So we can do what we did for the charter of the tag, which we did last summer, where we went through the proposal and kind of read through it together, and we can look at also the suggestions, and so it's a group effort. So one obvious, right, elephant in the room, the name of the working group is kind of still a discussion. However, I think, Antonio, in the last discussion, you suggested that we leave this kind of later on while we still figure out the motivation, goals, deliverables, and scope. So we do have a couple of ideas since the last time, like working group green project or working group green reviews, reports, something like that. And there is also one more thing that I would like to bring before we start, that I found tag security has. Oh, Leo, do you want to say something about?
Yeah, maybe about the name. So I think it makes sense that we wait until more or less the end of the discussion. In the Kubernetes community, like last week or previous weeks, we had like a similar situation where we had to be creative about naming, and we kind of took like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Everybody was silent in the call and just wrote down their thoughts in the chat, and it was actually kind of nice. So we had like multiple ideas. So maybe at the end we can do the same thing, or we can do it also next week. Maybe next week there are more attendees.
We can do that in the last few minutes of the call. That sounds great.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I think if we can kind of go through the motivation and scope, that would totally make it easier to understand what makes more sense in terms of naming as well.
Nice. Let's do it. There was just one thing I wanted to bring up before we dive into the proposal, that tag security, which is one, like, it's a tag that has a lot of great ideas and projects, and it does have a process for doing assessments, and there is an assessment process of CNCF projects to assess their security like profile, which kind of is exactly what we're trying to do. So I wanted to give a shout out to that, because that's something we can replicate as a model, kind of. So here's a link to it. And there's like a lot of information about it.
There's also a process from TAG contributor strategy about reviewing the governance model. Maybe they have also something, but I guess the security review is more on the same, probably follows like the same structures that we would implement in our reviews.
Yeah. So it's really interesting that we could look at that model. But yeah, so let's go through the motivation. Would anyone else like to read it? Actually, maybe we can take different sections. Different people can read different sections, so I'm not boring you with my voice the whole time.
Sure, let's do it. I can back you up if you need, Nikki, at least.
All right. Do you want to read it then, Christina, the motivation?
Okay, straight away I can do that. All right. One of the recurring themes in the CNCF environmental sustainability tag has been how to measure the carbon intensity and energy use of cloud native software. This is a proposal to create a new working group under TAG ENV to implement a process for assessing the sustainability footprint of CNCF projects, such as through the software carbon intensity specification, and report on this.
So there's the addition that I made, which focuses on process for how to assess the footprint, which I expand more in one of the things below, but we can come back to it also. Leo?
Yeah, I like the addition. Maybe what we could, so a couple of things. So first, like in the first sentence, we mentioned carbon intensity. So maybe, I mean, like this is like the question when, like how much do we want to specify? So obviously carbon intensity is something that we probably will report on. Maybe we can have like, so in my understanding, we have like a more general introduction where we use maybe sustainability footprint, but you also use in the second sentence. So maybe this is better. And then we can specify a little bit more on what we mean with sustainable footprint in one of the later sections. And also, it would be probably a good idea to add one sentence about that projects need our help with this. So there's a need, basically.
Right. I agree with the need, since the motivation is like the problem statement. And defining what we mean by sustainability footprint, I guess. The reason for putting carbon intensity here is because of the carbon intensity specification. But maybe here we can, it's kind of this, it's the sustainability footprint through the SCI.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we can keep it like this, but for me, it is always more useful to have like a general introduction and then also propose a way forward. And the way forward would be mentioning the SCI, but the general introduction would be that we want to assess the sustainability footprint of CNCF projects. And like in our current understanding of the topic, the SCI is the way to go, probably. But maybe down the road we will change this.
Sounds good. So do we all we agree with this suggestion, and then we can change this? There was an interesting, yeah, Christina.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow along on what Leo said as well, because I think that makes sense to have it like the motivation more overall, and then kind of use the concrete tools or methodologies like more down the road in the specification. And another thing I wanted to mention as well, because we talk a lot about carbon intensity, but there will be more things coming out and more challenges, like for instance water footprint, which has become kind of more relevant, that is being talked about in terms of machine learning and AI, for instance. And I know that Green Software does some is looking into that as well, and kind of adding up a separate way or looking into ways to handle that or calculate that. So I think that we should maybe mention that we not only would not probably only focus on carbon intensity exclusively, but may include more as we get more research out as well with time.
Yeah, Kristen.
Yes, I agree with Christina, because I think that carbon intensity is very difficult to measure, because there are a lot of questions, and also there are a lot of geopolitical questions. So for me, it's a little complicated. For me, it will be more clear to start measuring using watts or joules, and not carbon intensity.
Right. So sustainability footprints would be what we're all agreeing on, rather than carbon intensity. So let's move this out of the motivation, since it's a bit too specific for now. Leo?
Maybe one comment to this. So I would agree that it's like in general, like a challenging topic to report on the sustainability footprint. So that's definitely the case, but it's still like our goal, and I think it's also achievable. And if we mention in this proposal that we go step by step, maybe we have first the SCI, and then, as Christina, for example, said, like, I don't know, water and all these other measures, so we can over time then expand on this. Yeah. So like a general introduction, and then maybe right now, but this is later in one of the sections, it's phrased like deliverables. We can discuss if we have deliverables, or if we want to, for example, like outline a path forward. We don't need to stick to it like 100%, but we can, for example, mention, okay, we start with the SCI and then do some research and go from there.
Yeah, like the most specific things go in deliverables, right? Okay,
Yep.
so I will remove this section. Is that everyone agrees with this?
we move it. We don't remove it.
Move
we
it.
Move it.
Yeah. I don't want to lose the context of the conversation. Move it to the scope or deliverables.
So I think we can move it to deliverables first, but we can also mention it in the scope, that the scope is carbon. It is also maybe eventually water and all those other things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mentions of the SCI in scope and deliverables, so let's I think it's there already, so I won't move the other text. And yeah, we want to define sustainability footprint somewhere here in the scope. But I would suggest let's go through the rest first and maybe get to the scope in a minute. To also complete this, the need from the CNCF community and projects. So would anyone like to, what is the need, the problem here with the community? Is it that there is a lack of data, awareness, process, all of the above when it comes to assessing sustainability in projects? Anyone else would like to give their view of what the problem is here?
So, so the role of the tag is to advocate for this and so on. So we can mention that one of the deliverables or one of the goals of the tag is to foster the ecosystem of cloud native sustainability in the CNCF space. And this would also mean that we advocate those projects to become more sustainable. And this working group executes this. So we are an advisory group, and we reach out to those projects to help them guide to be more sustainable. Yeah.
Okay, so this.
Right. And so, but we don't mention the need. So there's also the need that projects are looking in the area into this field, and they need like guidance, kind of.
Yeah, maybe we can mention something like that projects are interested in doing something to make their projects more sustainable, but they kind of require help or easier way to kind of understand which actions and which steps they need to take in order to get there.
Yeah, we can also mention that they don't have. We have the position of like overseeing kind of the ecosystem as well. We work with multiple projects together, so we are in a position where we can also define those standards. So yeah. Yeah, maybe we need to reorder the sentences a little bit, but in general, I think, yeah.
Really long sentences. Okay. So it can help through
Can
this.
we move the goals to the next section, or should we keep it there?
To move.
Because it starts with one of the goals. That's why I think it can
Maybe
be...
the purpose, not the goals, not the goal of TAG ENV, but kind of the purpose, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, I think in general, like in the motivation, we can mention like something which already hints the scope, which hints some goals and so on. But like the section scope and goals and everything should be like very explicit, where you understand like from bullet point to bullet point, like what is this one goal and what is the next goal. So we can like paraphrase it a little bit, I think, in the motivation.
Yeah. The motivation really should be the problem, not the goal, right? So CNCF projects, maintainers, and contributors. I feel weird saying may not have the know-how, because that's not the best way to put it. Like, how do you say that the problem is the...
I think we can go from like a CNCF point of view, that the CNCF is responsible for making sure the ecosystem is like maturing in a way, and one of the maturing aspects is sustainability now, next to security and so on. So maybe we can even mention the security reports or something like this. So the CNCF, so maybe from this angle it makes more sense.
Okay. Like this in my mind. Yep. So I rephrased that to remove this. Leo, I'm not sure. Yeah, if you'd like to change anything in how the sentence is written, please jump in.
Yep. 1 second. Irgendwie sowas. I don't know, something in this direction. I don't know. Like I need more time to phrase it properly. I would just write down like maybe bullet points right now, and then write like something a little bit later, because otherwise we are sitting here for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's not very. Yeah.
Let's go through goals then. Since...
Yeah, I will phrase this like better after this call, and then let you know.
So goals: provide, well, I guess I'll just go ahead and read it, and we can popcorn later. Provide an approach to evaluate the sustainability footprint of CNCF projects by collaborating with maintainers. I would say CNCF project maintainers and the open source community of contributors to produce meaningful reports. Maybe. And here communication, I would say communicates, so that it's the same pattern. Okay, I think, yeah, provide an approach. I would say provide a process and methodology to be more specific. So the idea is essentially to come up with like a guide such as this one, but for sustainability.
There
Yeah.
are something that is not clear for me, because at the beginning you say the goal is to measure things, and now you're talking about evaluate the sustainability footprint. So for me, it's not the same thing.
I think it's
Because so
both.
you dedicate to measure things. Do you think you can? Sorry, I didn't listen to you very well.
Leo?
So the problem is that the CNCF ecosystem is not mature in the space sustainability because it's an upcoming topic. And the goal, like this is like the overall problem, which we also mentioned in the motivation. And this working group then assesses this problem in a way that we create, or that we want to create reports for CNCF projects. So there's like this overall problem or this overall motivation of us to change something, and this is like one of the things where this working group can help.
And there's definitely a focus on metrics. I think this is just kind of the general goal of, but how we will do this will be through the SCI to begin with, and that will involve energy metrics and, you know, using carbon coefficients and stuff like that. So that the idea is to have a process for doing this with projects, a kind of guide or methodology for how to do it in a way that can be replicated, and the actual measurements themselves. I think that's yeah. Christina?
Yeah, I guess maybe just to hopefully can clarify a bit what Christian was wondering about. I think the way like measurement comes into place here is that the other projects, most of them may not necessarily know like how to measure and what kind of like formulas or methodologies to use in order to measure it in their use cases. So the purpose of this working group in terms of measurement is like to help them understand how to do it and maybe show them examples of how you could perform the actual measurement. So that's probably given carbon intensity management measurement with SCI.
I'm picking on some of the feedback also from Max to have a new. Yeah. And exclude the cloudnative-sustainability report, but add to this that we might help or implement a way. Yeah, communicate. Okay, so we might help or implement a way for the projects to report and make their efforts transparent.
I'm not sure if the communication of the Cloud Native Sustainability Report should be part of the working group, because it's like another topic, and it's nice in the broader context. It maybe suits together, but I think in the first step we really should focus on like, hey, how we can help the projects to measure, to implement the report, and so on and so forth.
So you would not mention the Cloud Native Sustainability Report altogether in this proposal?
No, I wouldn't mention it.
But this is like what we are doing in this working group, that we create a sustainability report of projects. or not?
Yeah, but the cloud native sustainability report, isn't it the result of the survey which we did? That's why maybe the naming doesn't fit. Or
okay.
we need to say like the CNCF projects cloud native sustainability.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Maybe from the naming it does not make sense. Maybe we can change that. That it says like cloud native like project sustainability report or something, that it's not like about the entire ecosystem. Obviously, it's just like focused on this one project.
I would rename it to review. I think that's
Project review, maybe, yeah. Like
review
yeah.
is what is also used in the tag security.
Mm-hmm. And then I would also put in project, cloud native project sustainability reviews or something like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So we need a way to, communicate those. Let's see.
I actually, I'm not sure if like is one of the deliverables like of the tag. I need to look it up. Like create like an overall report. This would also be interesting. If I mean, but this does not really affect the working group.
No, but in the proposal which I have written about the measurement itself, I included also that we maybe should have something like a Prometheus Grafana setup, similar to the CNCF project's contributor overview, so that you everyone can just include their own results and we can transparently show it everywhere.
Yeah, I would guess that we can just extend the existing Grafana dashboard because there are already like dozens of different tabs. So maybe we can add to those. But this is like something, yeah, maybe we can mention it in the scope. Like work with existing tools to include sustainability or something like this. Like, 1 second. I was thinking of dev stats.
So like use existing tools for metrics for gathering and displaying.
Yeah.
Metrics.
So either we can use the existing, I mean, this is like a discussion which we need to have like with the maintainers of those tools with the CNCF itself. Either we can extend devstats.cncf.io or we need to create a new one. But I think it makes sense to get an overview. Yeah.
There is one last thing before we can move on from the goals, which is this discussion here on the side. Leo, do you want to summarize?
Right. So this is about creating tools or like some small minimal tooling to create those reports or to conduct those reviews. And I think this definitely makes sense. So we don't want to, like, we have like a process around this, maybe to run those reviews. And I think it makes sense to create some minimal tooling to help us do the reviews. Maybe down the road, there's like, maybe that, I mean, we need to see like if it makes sense to automate things, but I would not exclude it. Yeah.
So we add here, maybe this is the line and scope that mentions the tooling. We can add with the possibility of minimal tooling to help with automation, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's also, maybe you saw this right now, we creating a new GitHub organization for tags where we can create repositories for these kinds of small projects. So these are not projects which end users will use, but that like projects that help us do our work in the tag. So for example, like this Grafana dashboard things, for example, could also be like maybe a repository down the road at some point.
Well, I think this we can keep it or mark it as resolved. So maybe or leave it. It's fine. The non-goals. Build tooling for energy or carbon monitoring from scratch.
Yeah, instead of these existing tools we are gonna use, right? As you mentioned.
Sorry?
I mean, instead of creating from the scratch, the existing tools can be used as much as possible. And here I would like to add one point more, if it is applicable. Yeah, we said that one of the goals is defining or providing process and methodology, but can we add no consultancy service for projects, or we will provide consultancy as well? I don't know.
Yeah, how would you, what kind of thing do you see as consultancy that would, to make it more specific?
Let's say some cloud native projects owners try to discuss some topics with CNCF. Yeah, I mean, one of the way is to attend such a kind of meetings, right, meetups. But if it is a, let's say, more than that, it will be a consultancy service. These can be done under the CNCF, of course, but if we don't provide, we can add it here as well if it is not one of our goals.
I mean, we have realistically already requests and demands on this to provide like, hey, can you take a look at our project and tell us what we can do better? But this would require that we are very well aware how the projects are built, how the software is built. I think that we can't deliver per se, but overall the request is absolutely right to say like, hey, you're the sustainable people. What we should do better. So I think we need to find a way of like saying like, we would love to consult you, but it's practically impossible because we would always needs to understand the whole code base.
Exactly.
However, we will help you to identify and learn about the best approaches to optimize your code. Maybe something in this way.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, we can give process, methodology, and first evaluation, maybe not in detail. But if it is going in detail, as you said, need code base and spending extra times, yeah, it will be like a consultancy service.
Yeah, there is also this second bullet point in the non-goals that goes over this. Leo, would you like to add?
Yeah. So in general, obviously, like if projects approach us, this is obviously fine. This is great. I mean, at the end, we are here for the ecosystem, right? But I think we should also make sure that we don't mix TAG and working group. So this working group has to focus around creating those reviews and conducting those reviews. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's, I think, a very good call out from you to mention consultancy, because this could eventually be like a big problem, that we lose focus from running those reviews and just improving their project overall, which is fine, but at the end we want to do the reviews, right? So so maybe we can mention like, I don't know if this is like a little bit offensive, but arbitrary consultancy beyond reviews. Yeah, providing, yeah, beyond getting like, yeah, reviews done. Yeah.
And how would we quantify that? Like, is it the level of detail that is the line, or the time, or what exactly is, yeah, the line that we should be careful of?
Yeah. So I think it makes sense to do like an investigation. How can we do the review on this project? And also if we can, like this would be probably in the goal section. And it would also make sense to, like if we cannot do the review, that the working group points out to the project, which is kind of consultancy, but points out like, why can't we do the review? I think that makes also sense. Maybe they don't, I don't know, don't respond to us or they don't have like, don't have metrics for the projects, or I don't know what the reasons could be that, but I think like in the process of creating those reviews and also getting the project ready for reviews, I think this is like in scope, and everything beyond, I don't know, like API reviews, for example, or whatever. I think this not.
I think we should really nail it down, saying like, hey, we do not provide any kind of consulting or implementation services to change lines of code within the project. But on the other hand side, we can add to the scope that we provide advisory and guidance, how to utilize the right process, approaches, frameworks for improving the software, right? So we don't exclude that we are like, because we need to be careful what we exclude and what we include. We want to sit down with the people, right? We want that they come to us and say like, hey, how it's going, how we can get better. This is what we want. But if you say like, sorry, we just make like a review of reporting, they will run away, because this is not the help which people maybe will expect. So we need to find this fine-grained line between like, hey, we can guide you through this process. We can show you what you have to consider. You need to learn something by yourself because you know your code better than us. And we will give you maybe some hints, what we can see from a 10,000 foot view, but everything else is up to you. And we just help you to make it transparent and visible so that you have something where you can say like, look, the actions which we have taken, they provide obviously positive changes in the power consumption whatsoever.
Plus one. Maybe one line what we could add is, if we do a review on a project and they have questions, that we sit with them together maybe in one meeting or something and discuss the review, so they can better understand. Looks like you were done talking, so okay. Oh. So maybe we could add that if we completed a review, that we and they have questions about the review, that we help them understand the review. So this is like under the point guidance, if you want to specify it a bit more.
Under which points?
So under scope, that we organize meetings with the project authors to go through the review if there are questions. I think this is fine. So maybe a new bullet point. Provide metrics, guidelines, guidance, and processes.
So be a point of contact for help
for project maintainers to understand the outcome of the report.
For project maintainers to
And the one before, So provide metrics, guidelines, guidance. I'm not sure if this is like specific enough. Or I mean, maybe this is like a good catch-all one, or so maybe it's fine.
Right. Let's see. So think we can move to the scope now.
Yeah,
And
sorry, I was already in the scope.
so we had define sustainability footprint, define what define the components of sustainability of define sustainability, define the meaning. Sorry, I'm just like
Define what sustainability footprint is, what it consists of, and how you can measure it, or maybe measurement could.
And I would also maybe put in project sustainability footprint, because we are not talking about an entire system or an entire IT infrastructure. We're just talking about like one project.
Yeah, fair point.
Right, with a focus on CNCF projects as use case studies. Okay, are we happy with this? So the next one is, this provide metrics, guidelines, guidance, and processes for measuring and improving the sustainability footprint of CNCF projects. That's kind of like the main thing. Okay, so Leo, change this.
Maybe this is a little bit simpler, shorter. A project.
I don't know if it makes more
Wait.
sense. Wait.
Maybe the projects, like apostrophe S.
Define the sustainability footprint of each CNCF project, projects. That's going to be, part of what we do is define it per project. So
define what the sustainability footprint of a CNCF project consists of. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Looks good. The next point, I would also like to go through this one, since there's a lot of things, and we can go over it again, but we did just add this as part of our discussion. And we also added this previously, so I think let's go over this and we can do a review afterwards as well. So Max, would you like to take this one?
Wait, what I've written there. Inside the CNCF environments control. Yeah. So I mean, the first change is like about that act inside the CNCF. So within our charter, not within our scope. Also because the charter is a little bit more wider and give a little bit more free room. And then there was like measure the software carbon intensity. I changed it to be provide or provide support to measure, right? So that not we do active the measurement, but that we help the projects to understand how to measure it. For this we design and something missing, automation and dashboard for carbon. I think this last part is partially redundant. Yes, at a point of contact.
Can we remove the add intervals? There's like at different intervals, such as provide support to measure the software carbon intensity of CNCF projects.
No, that's fine.
For example,
So maybe this we could put this under deliverables or like to pay like a way forward.
yeah. Okay, I reordered the scope so it makes kind of sense in order. Act in the tag charter, define things, provide these things, and provide also this, the SCI help, use existing tooling and be a point of contact.
I'm wondering if the second one is also deliverable, so we could write a guide or like document a review process.
This one, the second one, this one. Also, I feel like this is a deliverable.
Yeah,
is this what you meant though, to move this one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe I would make it a little bit more explicit, and also what you shared earlier in chat about the security, tag security. I think we can also like reference this as an example. I think this is fine.
Yeah, it was this point. So document methodologies for how to gather sustainable metrics using existing tooling in order to implement the
Okay.
SCI, yeah, in order to implement the SCI specification for CNCF projects.
Yeah, maybe we can add like a general specification or a general documentation, and then the first one, I think it makes sense to leave both. The first one is then, okay, we go from project to project, and this one is about, okay, we first think about, okay, what is the process at each project. Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 things. One, we haven't added the tag security thing. And I think this sentence needs to be kind of reworded, designed, and designed and automate. Oh,
Maybe we just visualize the review outcomes. And then, for example, there is a dashboard in the CNCF used for dev stats. Visualize and communicate the project review outcomes, maybe.
visualize and, sorry, could you repeat that?
Not sure if we want to put this in 2 ones, like visualize and communicate. And communicate the, of the project reviews, sustainability project reviews. Yeah.
Is the communicate part, is it a part, can you call it a deliverable? Like the communication, is it a deliverable?
We can, yeah. Maybe not. Maybe it would be deliverable if we say like this working group works with the working group communications.
Like maybe provide visualization of the outcomes, but then would communication be part of the scope, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To communicate?
That can be used in communication or something like that.
And we just have 2 minutes left on this meeting.
Yeah. Okay. That looks good to me, to be honest. Provide visualization to communicate the outcomes of the very long name, for example, through dashboards and Carbon. Do we want to meet again or do the rest offline? Like, there's just 3 things left.
So
maybe
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should wrap it up soon. Next week we have the regular tag meeting. I think we should call it out, obviously, but we should not have the same meeting as we have today, that we work from line to line. So we should avoid this. It would be great if we can settle on a first draft until next week. So we can, in the meeting, say, okay, we have the first draft. Please have reviews from everyone. So I think if we can have this async, I think it would be good.
Yeah. And maybe for the last point, for the umbrella FICO topic, for example, maybe we can add there another chapter for, where we say resource or demands or requests or something like this. So we can put the FICO request under it. We can add the proposals under it from the SCI specification stuff, because then we have the 2 relevant communication already also in this document included, giving it some purpose. Because I think we should not link here to a specific project and the deliverables, even so as an example.
Okay, so your suggestion, I need to leave, so I can't really follow up. Is anyone able to stay and continue, or does everyone need to drop? If someone could take over sharing and hosting. If you want to continue, feel free.
I think we can continue async from now, and just write in Slack as soon as we have, like, I don't know, maybe until end of Friday, if there's no open, like suggestions open or questions, comments open, then we just drop in a message in Slack.
Yeah, Max, feel free
Sounds
to
good.
add what you said, and we can, yeah, let's wrap it up before the next regular meeting. It would be great. I think we got it pretty much. And the details, we can figure it out when we start the working group as well. We can keep it like kind of general for now, and the processes and stuff will be figured out when we actually start.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the
Thank
work.
you very much.
Thank you.
See you next meeting. Bye.
Bye
See you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.